Marina Menendez, international political analyst and activist based in Cuba. Hi, Marina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Marina, bienvenida.
Good afternoon. Good night.
My first question to you, what is the significance of this election, especially in the face of the numerous challenges that authorities faced in organizing amidst a global pandemic and economic blockade by the U.S.?
En medio del bloqueo económico y de la pandemia global.
Well, one of the circumstances that is marking this moment is the persistence of the people of Venezuela to confront all of the effects of the sanctions imposed on the country, of all of the money that has been stolen abroad, and in general all of the attacks on the people. And this marks these elections, and it also makes it very important because, as I've said before, and of course maintaining the distances, as today the president has recognized, today's elections is for a self-determination and sovereignty of Venezuela, because they are carrying out in a position with all of the desire of the United States and the European Union to interfere in Venezuela. As a counteraction, today Venezuela is showing their sovereignty and independence without being affected by all of these difficulties that the blockade and the sanctions imposed has caused on the people.
Now, the opposition went into this election divided on whether they should participate or not. What impact do you think this particular position would have on the integrity of the election?
¿Qué impacto usted cree que esta división en el ala derecha del gobierno bolivariano tendrá en estas elecciones?
Well, these elections have changed everything, because that it shows that the opposition has no ground. I think there is an impact that is visible, and it's precisely of this fragmentation of the leftist parties that has called for the abstention and that is not participating. And on the other hand, it is re-legitimized the opposition that has of the right that has approved this election. Of course, this parliament, the current parliament, is coming to an end because constitutionally their time has come to an end. So when this parliament comes to an end, Juan Guaidó loses his seat, and this obviously does a bout with the strategy of the imperialism that used Guaidó to interfere in Venezuela, independently that he has no strength. So my answer to your question is that the opposition of the right and violent has been totally disarmed. There is several oppositions. For example, there's another one that is participating, and of course they can gain some seats and they can legitimize a democracy in Venezuela.
Maria, do you think the reasons advanced by some sections of the opposition to boycott the polls have any merit at all?
¿Qué usted cree de la posición de algunos sectores de la política venezolana para boicotear las elecciones?
This position is following a script that has been elaborated in the United States it is serving once again as a ramp, as a stepping stone for the interventionist programs of the United States. And what they're trying to do is to discredit elections that, from every point of view we have seen throughout the day, and how we've seen on TV and on the social media, we have several observers. We've seen that they're transparent. They have been peaceful, and they want to delegitimize, of course, to interfere the step forward and to complete the institutionality of Venezuela that represents these elections. But the defeat of this position is totally declared ever since the elections are held. I think just the mere fact that the elections have been carried out in peace is a defeat for those sectors that wanted to interfere and affect Venezuela.
Ironically, in the United States, there were a lot of concerns and false allegations of fraud by the Donald Trump administration. And now, in contrast, we see Venezuela having peaceful elections with rules and adherence to law being followed. What do you think this demonstrates to the international community?
Well, I think that this expression of the resistance of this administration that is outgoing, that doesn't want to leave, and that of course, they did not have a victory against Venezuela, and not only against Venezuela, but against Nicaragua and Cuba. We know in South America, especially we the Cubans, as well as our brothers from Venezuela, of all of the strategies and sanctions with which the Trump administration has tried in vain to revert the process of politically and socially that is going on in Venezuela and Cuba. And they did the same thing in Venezuela, just to mention 3 of the countries of the area that have been most affected by the Trump government. All of the lies that from the Trump administration have been told against these elections in Venezuela are expression of that. I think that maybe the Trump resists to finish his mandate without being able to do something against Venezuela, because he's done a lot, but he has not been able to concrete anything. And it's why that in last days there has been a stronger attack against Cuba. And therefore, as a Cuban, it is very clear that it is what we call in Cuba, this is just the last attempts of somebody that fortunately is leaving.
Thank you so much, Maria, for joining me this evening.